Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the worst reviews ever. Today we got Casey, Fred, and the sophisticated jerk. So we're gonna hold it down, mazing out. Wally might pop up, but we still cook it up whenever. So before we jump into this, man, how's everything doing, Fred?
Doing good, man. Doing real good, man. I can't believe it's like the end of May already.
I
So
know, man.
summer
Time
is,
flying by, man.
yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
But all right, we'll go ahead, man. We're gonna jump into this movie review. So the movie that we're gonna review today is The Stepdaughter. It's a Tubi film. So let me go ahead and pull up the slide. So the plot on this one, a teen moves in with her birth father and new family, planning revenge on the stepmom. Seeking retribution for her mom and grandma's deaths, she aims to get close to her dad and remove obstacles. So, all right, the directors and producers on this film. So, directed by Chris Stokes, written by Chris Stokes and Marcus Houston. So, shout out to Marcus Houston. He doing some producer type stuff with the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, the cast for this movie. Then after I read this, we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the trailer and then we'll give our rating. So the cast for this is Annie. I'm not even gonna go there with the name as Whitney Hughes. Yeah, that was definitely I was about to botch that one. So I was like, let me save myself. I'm starting to learn. So Blue Kimball as Michael Lawrence, and wasn't he an NFL player or something?
Yeah, I think so, man, for sure.
Okay. I know I recognize it from something. So yeah, Blue Kimball as Michael Lawrence, Cassidy Raylan as Joanna Lawrence. That's the stepdaughter, and Blue Kimball was the father in that. So Akeem Cheatham as Brian Hughes. That was Whitney's son, and Judy Johnson as Cassandra, and Jared Cheatham as Eric Hughes. So all right, let me go ahead and pull up the trailer. We'll go ahead and watch that real quick, and then we're gonna give this rating. I'm definitely interested to see what you rated this one for.
You're Joanna.
Yeah, I am. How do you know?
Your dad talks about you all the time. Come in.
Hi, Dad.
What are you doing here, baby? Is everything all right?
I know I should have called.
You are going to stay with us.
Boys, this is my daughter, Joanna. She's your new stepsister.
You're really like an inspiration to a lot of girls like me. I really do hope that one day I can be somewhat like you.
You're so sweet.
Has she gotten into any trouble in her past?
Joanna, hi.
Hi.
Michael is an amazing man with a sweet daughter. This is exactly what we needed.
I know, right?
I am so tired. Have you guys seen my credit card?
Your credit card.
The last time I remember using it was at the spa when I was with you.
I really don't appreciate your little passive-aggressive accusations.
You need to watch your mouth in my house, little girl.
I am not your little girl.
I thought we were getting along.
What's that supposed to mean?
My mother's urn, my presentation.
What reason would Joanna have to do all this to you?
I know you did something to my mom.
What are you talking about? I'm only gonna tell you this once. You need to be careful what you accuse me of. I can be a dream or your worst nightmare. You don't want to get on my bad side.
Shout out to Tubi. All right. Casey, Fred, would you rate this movie?
Hey, bro, for real. Like, Wally ain't even on here, but I know he's gonna make fun of me. But hey, I gave it a 5.
So you gave it a 5. You got it in between decent and average.
I gave it a 5.
All right, man. I had to give this a 6.7. So I got it in good territory.
You the outlier, bro.
I'm definitely gonna break it down. Yeah. So I thought this was a good movie, man. I thought it was pretty solid, man. So let me pull up the questions. So I'll go ahead and go first. So it's like, what was my rating and why did I give the movie this rating? So my rating again was a 6.7, 6.8 around there in the good territory. Casey Fred had it indecent, but I gave it that rating because, man, I felt like this wasn't even a movie. I felt like this is a documentary that most people need to watch. You know, it's like, because, man, there's a lot of stepdaddies out here, and I think this movie puts everything in perspective. Because, you know, everybody's like, man, I ain't trying to be no step parent. Everybody's like, man, that's messed up. And then you see this play out, you're like, oh, hell no. And I know, like, most relationships don't get that extreme, but it's like, man, you know, them teenagers, how they're moody and stuff. It's like, man, I could definitely see that, those type of interactions. So I was like, yeah, I want no parts of that. So yeah, this movie just like put that in the forefront. I think this is like to save people's sanity and stuff. They're like, hey, don't shout out to Marcus Houston and them. They're like, hey, watch this movie before you jump into this. So what did I think about the plot of the storyline? You know, definitely, man, you could tell like they didn't have a big budget. And typically, you know, we did have seen movies like this, The Stepfather, you know, so I do like how it was more urban, you know, so they put that spin on there. Because typically, yeah, you don't see us in these type of movies. The brother been moved out on them. So I like how they kind of capture that family. But I just like the more urban, it's like the new age feel and stuff. And then, like I said, man, you can see so many like I say blended families. Me and Amy was just actually talking about not this movie, but blended families and stuff like that, and the dynamics, and you know how teenagers when they start hitting that age, how they start getting moody, so stuff. So yeah, it's just I like how they kind of capture that. Then you know they did put the whole like horror film spin on there, where the girl's like just kind of crazy and
Right.
she's punking everybody in the house. So I mean I thought it was pretty funny, man. There was a lot of funny parts too. So that girl started amping up. At first, she was all just like polite. And all of a sudden, she was like, I don't like that passive aggressive like they sold in that clip. I was like, damn, okay. She done whooped her sister's ass, the cop. So I just thought it was hilarious, man. I like the twist where the dad, because at first I was like, damn, like he was like, trying to leave his daughter behind, but she just showed up. But it showed like he was involved in it too, kind of the mastermind. So it just shows that element, like, you know, the apple to fall too far from the tree type of thing, where it's just like, yeah, he's the one that's like teaching her how to be a grifter and scheme and stuff. And, you know, he was ruthless, because especially at the end where like she drugged her up. So that's the scene that stuck out. You know, he came in cold blooded, like with the gloves. He's like, look, give me the gun. He's like, oh, she about to snap on me now. He's like, hey, give me that gun. My man was like chopping up all the pills and stuff. So had the wife beater on. So yeah, he was ready. He was like, all right, you got all this. He's like, man, I gave you a couple of jobs and you messed this up. So I thought it was definitely like a low budget, but it was like, I thought for like a low budget movie, man, I thought it was pretty solid. So if I was the director and the producer of this movie, what would I change or do differently? Man, I wouldn't change anything, because I like how they played it out, and I like how they actually connected it to a newer part. So I think when they wrote this one, because you know how we're always like, man, they messed up, like they could have got a sequel out of this. So I like that they took that in consideration when they wrote this first film. It was like, hey, we want to do it. Yeah, we want to do a sequel to it. We want a part 2. So let's write it the right way.
Yeah.
And would I recommend this to everybody? Yeah, absolutely. You're thinking about that. You're like, look, man, I might be a step parent out here. I think you need to watch this. I think this is gonna put stuff in perspective. You be like, oh hell no, like. But
boy,
Fred.
Well, I appreciate the breakdown, but like I was telling you, if Wally was here, he would be going in on me, because you know how I started off. I said, what was the definition? What was the name of the movie? Did he live up to his name? And the reality is, it was Stepdaughter, and they showed you at the beginning who the killer was. It's in the title, The Stepdaughter. There was leaving no doubt how Grandma died.
Speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, aka Wally.
Yeah, we brought him up, so now here he is.
Hold on, before you jump into yours, because you just started, Fred, let me go ahead and get Wally's rating. So Wally, I gave it a 6.7. Casey Fred gave it a 5. Wally, what's your rating?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna give this at least for right now, because honestly, I didn't even finish it yet. I'm like halfway there, but honestly, I'm gonna just give it a 5.
Yeah, wildin'.
No. Okay, one. Let's be real here. I believe what Casey Fair was about to say is they didn't flush out that beginning part of the story of why the hell the mother passed away. Like what really happened. Okay, yeah, I'll speak to that once I get to So go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, but before I toss it back over to Fred, the reason why I got it up here, I think this is I told Fred, this ain't even a movie to me. This is a documentary. I think they wrote this to save people's lives. So they'll be jumping out here being stepdaddies and step parents, stepmoms and stuff. So that's what I didn't give it some.
Y'all did some horrible. You went that far with the shit.
I'm telling you, man. They were like, look, you see the lady that took in his kid, trying to do the right thing, and she got screwed over. So I think this is a documentary. I think the writers was like, look, y'all watch this. Don't be jumping out here trying to be no step parent.
What difference?
I think y'all missed the masterpiece at work. But all right, now go ahead, KT.
Masterpiece. The dude that was playing the hubby was the step parent to those two boys.
Oh boy!
But I mean, but the lady got screwed over because she opened up her home. She done moved on with the guy and just destroyed her stuff. So I think the writers of this movie was like, hey, before y'all start jumping into this shit,
well, look,
watch this movie.
Part 2 to this.
It is. I seen it. I went ahead and watched it.
But all right, go ahead, Casey Fred.
Okay, so the reason why I gave it a 5, I actually probably could have gave it a little bit lower, but I've never seen a serial killer that cute and that good looking. Most of them, they always look ugly, and most of the time, usually they're not even black. So this is pretty much a predominantly black cast, and all of a sudden, right there in the title, in the name, Stepdaughter. So you already know, hey, who the killer is. And I thought it was they were just like preparing you, prepping you and everything. Here she is at her grandma's, cemetery, at her tomb, over there acting like with these fake crocodile tears, which you find out later on, she was the one that pushed her downstairs. So it was like, you already knew what time it was. Like, you already knew what time it was. And so all of a sudden, she even had on her phone about how her daddy had her next victim. And that was her future, supposedly, mother-in-law. So, hey, it's time to pack up the grip and go over there so I can sabotage this relationship. And then, so, I mean, at the end of the day, the plot and the storyline was all about, you thought it was this girl that was the one that was doing it, and you just thought she was crazy and needed to be locked up. But the reality is, you find out at the end, where the mystery comes in, that her and her dad was in cahoots together. But the real story behind the story, which I hate to spoil it for you, Wally, because you say you only seen half of it, is this simple fact that she thought she was going behind, well, my mom got killed by a drunk driver, and my dad couldn't take it, and so after that we just started killing all these people or whatever, for insurance money, and that was always a scam, not knowing that all of a sudden that he is the one that had been doing the famous cocktail or whatever, these 3 substances that were all of a sudden causing these women to, next thing you know, be hallucinating, to all of a sudden lose their balance. Next thing you know, that caused them to be falling down. Next thing you know, it caused them to be in deep coma-like sleep and stuff like that. And so irrational, sleepwalking, all this stuff. And the whole essence was, they focused so much on the stepdaughter that you didn't see the father that was behind the scenes with the gloves that was all of a sudden putting the formula into her pills and stuff. He was the one that was literally doing this, and you find this out at the end. And so at the end of it, the next thing you know, everybody's getting involved. The wife is all of a sudden she's having issues. She was doing a marketing scheme. The stepdaughter messed that up. What was it? It wasn't the neighbor, but it was like the kid's best friend who was always coming over there, and he was over there texting the stepdaughter, and all of a sudden he went into her room to see if he could find her, and looked in her bag and saw her diary and opened it up. And
he was on some perv shit.
And then she called him, and all of a sudden I don't even know what she used. What was it? Some statue or something? And just literally beat his brains out, and blood just all over the furniture and stuff like that. Obviously, she cleaned it up. And then next thing you know, she takes the boys, what was it, the next day or something like that, to the park, and was disappeared for 15 minutes. So that way she can push him off the bridge. And then next thing you know, the news talks about it later. And the boys put all the pieces together towards the end. And then, like I said, she kept doing serious, psycho stuff to the mom to let her know that, hey, you're supposed to die so we can get this insurance money. And so I felt like she was doing everything she could, but the wife never put the two pieces together until all of a sudden, basically it was her sister that got involved, that let her know, and the doctor that told her about this cocktail that was in her pills and stuff. And so then that's when the sister said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and take the boys over to my place, and I'm gonna go back to your place and get proof, because that's where the stepdaughter was staying. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, she gets in a confrontation with the stepdaughter. The stepdaughter throws her over the little balcony type of thing and hits the living room floor. Next thing you know, her husband, who's a cop, he comes over there, gets hit by some kind of, I don't know if it was a brick or another statue or something, and he gets knocked out. And next thing you know, drugged into the room too. And so next thing you know, she calls the mother-in-law to tell her, who's in the hospital that she put in there because she cut both of her wrists or whatever and almost bled to death, tells her, hey, I need you to come over and play, or else I'm going to play with the two boys that you got. Which other means, basically, if you don't come over here and get killed, I'm about to kill your boys. So next thing you know, she all of a sudden puts her clothes on, gets out of the hospital, goes over there for the ultimate confrontation. There's a big old fight. Next thing you know, hey, you weak, you tired, you been drugged. So she gives her the beat down. And next thing you know, she's knocked out and she's on the ground. And she's like, well, now let me tell you the truth of what's really going on. We planned this, and here comes our special guest. And then that's when the father shows up, and she says the whole plan, because the mother-in-law is kind of conscious, but she's out of it type of thing. But she's conscious enough she can't hardly move or whatever, because she had been stabbed and drugged, and gave her a little bit more cocktail in the chest. And then all of a sudden, but that sister all of a sudden had the folder that her husband had found when they did the investigation on her real mother, who they thought was the one that got hit by a drunk driver, but come to find out that it was the father that had gave her a cocktail of the same exact substance. And that was the part that the stepdaughter did not realize. And when she finally realized that her dad killed her mom, it wasn't a drunk driver named Heather, but it was actually the substance that made her all of a sudden hallucinate, and next thing you know, lose control of the car and die. That's when she turns on her dad. And then the fight, the struggle, the gun pops out, And then they're over there struggling and fighting and stuff. And then that mother-in-law grabs the gun with the last bit of strength that she had, shoots him. And when she shots him, that bullet goes through him and it hits her in the shoulder. The next thing you know, all of a sudden, they go to the next scene. The ambulance is all there. The cops are all there. And for some reason, somehow, some way, the guy gets away, but she ends up going to the hospital. And then, boom, she's supposed to be like going into a coma or something like that or whatever. And so they was like, oh, she ain't going nowhere. And so she's in the hospital, and that's where it stops. Now, going back to what you were saying, Jerk, it is a Stepdaughter 2, which I took the time because on Tubi, if you don't cut it off, it just
I'm putting it on a list.
Goes to the next movie, and that happens to be the next movie. So I saw the whole thing. I said, well, since I'm already here, I'm still eating nachos. I might as well go to the next one. Now, the scenes that really stuck out to me, because I've said a lot, honestly, really, the scene was just the simple fact of it was all but black cast. It was the simple fact of it is you knew that she was going to kill. You just didn't know who she was going to kill first, who was going to be next. And the mystery of it all is you really didn't know that it was the father really until almost towards the end. And so at the end of the day, you just like, okay, you kept just thinking this girl is crazy. The father probably just knew his daughter was crazy and wanted to get her as far away from her. But you didn't know that he was the mastermind, like you said, Jerk, and he had the plan for her to be able to do all this stuff. She was just the one that was executing it all. And so at the end of the day, like I said, it was decent, but you already knew who the killer was. And the only thing is you just didn't know how she was going to do it. And then, like I said, I've never seen a black cast where it was this type of movie. I mean, I've seen something similar, but not in this format. So is there anything I would change? Honestly, I would probably kind of like go in depth because they don't really talk about how they communicated to get this master plan. You just knew that all of a sudden he was lying about a bunch of stuff and they didn't add up, but you didn't think all the way through that he was the one that was behind the whole thing. And so I think of Lifetime and I think of like urban films, and if those two collided together, that would be this movie. So I think that's how Tubi kind of came up with it. And so if you see one and then you see two, you see the pattern and you realize that this girl really is a flat out serial killer. And he literally made her and turned her into that. And so you feel all the vibes where you feel sorry for her, but then you also want to get away from her as fast as possible because you knew it was coming. If I was going to change this movie, the title, I would say Beauty That Kills, because at the end of the day, she was beautiful. The family is beautiful. You just didn't know that inside of her was this seed of death and killing and just masquerading as a beautiful light, but yet just evil on the inside. It was just crazy to watch and see. Would I recommend this movie to somebody? I wouldn't tell nobody to pay for this, but if it's on TV, go ahead and watch it. Now, is this a documentary like Jerk? I don't think so. I don't think there's really anybody that you know that's really in real life that's like this. If they are, they're probably already locked up, because as much killing as she was doing and hurting people, you would almost think that she would have been locked up a long time ago. And you would have thought that the cops would have already caught up with her, because at the end of the day, grandma had already passed and supposedly falling down the steps, and it's just you two at the house. Come on, man. DNA, she should have already been gone. But like I said, I gave it a 5 as far as decent was concerned, but I couldn't give it no higher than that because once again, the mystery is supposed to be about her, but you already knew who she was. You knew she was a killer. You just didn't know how she was going to get the job done. So for there, I'll leave it just at that.
It's a documentary. But all right, Wally, it's on you. This movie gonna save lives out here.
One and foremost, this is not documented by no means. Not out there right now. Fact of A, again, there were stepkids by the mother to the father. I mean, again, the two boys that weren't his, opposing them. Again, yeah, okay. Stepkids, I mean, either which way, there are stepkids on both sides of the fences, and only one of them was killed. So that's one. Two, okay, well, yeah, look. Why'd I give it 5? Like I said, again, I didn't finish the movie, so I just gave it a stand-ish 5 of average. I did not finish it, so yeah. But as far as what I'm hearing from Fred, I might consider it going up. So that will be something I'll probably mention later down the stretch when I finish it. But the plot and the storyline. So look, solid idea, crazy idea, but solid idea, plot and storyline. Again, as far as hearing what Fred had to say, unique twist. Yes, is there a movie similar to this? Yeah, there is. Not exactly, but just say this: there wasn't a trick play in that movie, but it's one of a throwback movies like some years back. But I remembered it was like a black, like it was pretty much all black, but I forgot who played in it. I know it was like high-end famous people, but I forgot who played in it. But when I do remember, I'll probably put in like the comment section, whatever. But yeah, decent plot and storyline. I liked it for where it was building up towards as it was going along. Scenes and actresses, scenes, actor/actress that performed stuck out. Personally, the actual person that was playing the stepdaughter was pretty nice. Again, but all of them played a nice role overall. Honestly, as far as her being the killer or everything else, it was pretty obvious because as far as like they sort of just sticked her out there the moment you saw seeing her playing certain roles and everything else. But usually it's just pretty funny, right? When they do these types of killers, that these people are so very quote unquote unique and or how we would say creatives, because what she was doing was very creative. Like, I'm still sitting here asking myself, what did she put in her makeup to eventually explode the skin of those women? Like, yeah, that was nasty work. That was nasty work. So, that was like one of like one of those whoa scenes. Like, yo, that is just nasty. But two, another thing is, they sort of sold her as a killer the moment, like towards like the beginning of the movie. When you see her in that moment, like the woman on the floor and she's standing right over her watching, I'm like, what is this? Like, it's committed a treason. Like, all right, we throw that out there. Only to find like, and then as time goes, it's like she's just playing this innocent little girl with a horrible path. And as time goes, it was just like, okay, you're slowly seeing her come out. But the thing was, this is the craziest part of the whole thing movie that I'm like, how did this work? How did the son just like saw the things that were going on and didn't bother to say nothing? The first, literally, you go back, she's the one that dropped the urn. The boy comes right there and noticed the whole thing. And she didn't say anything. Then to top it off, the second time, now you want to say something, and now you fed up. Now she knows that, okay, you getting too close. I'm about to shut you up. Makes a peace offering, even though, like, literally, like, which I don't know why you make a peace offering at this point when you know what you know. And then now you get set up. Only to slowly you just be sit down on the sideline so she can do what she's gonna do. Then to top it off, what makes it even interesting, then you got the mother, over here just magically just walking out of thin air, And then right before she even took the plunge, maybe I think at the pool or just faint overall outside, hubby comes out of nowhere talking about, "Are you okay? You sleepwalking?" I'm like, "Are you all right?" Yeah. And she's like, "Damn it! Ugh. All right, I gotta move on to the next one." And I'm like, "Okay, this is very interesting." Then to make it worse, Doofus over here, the homie, want to come in the freaking room, want to think, "Ooh, I might get see some goodies." And he opens the damn bag. He's like, "Oh man, this is so nice." And he, a diary. And he opens the diary. He's like, "Oh my god, I gotta tell the world." And you not just looking at him just get whacked and flatline only to then been bloodied up was just nasty work. Just nasty work. Only for him to also take his phone and then text back and be like, "Oh, hey bro, I gotta go meet with my mother ASAP." And I'm thinking to myself, y'all niggas don't have no password. How this? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? So I'm like, that was just a little unrealistic. Just whoop. Oh, your phone's actively okay, good. That's dumb. That's dumb. I'm like, okay. So that was just horrible right there in scenery. But what other ones were a solid one? Then it's like there's just furtherness of like mysteries. It's just pretty funny because the sister or the best friend, right, of the mother, right, she already felt too funny about it all. And at first you could just sit there and say, typical trope, she's just another woman trying to keep another woman from being single, even though technically she already had a man. But it is just like she put too much worry into it as far as she's moving too fast with the relationship, even though, right, I guess everything pans out, right? I bet you better make sure you hit that. You better give him a prenup. I'm like, oh, I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm in love, but I'm not stupid. But it's like, but let's be honest here. It doesn't look like he was needing it anyways. He had his own business while carteling his daughter to be an assassin. So, I mean, the way this look, it didn't matter. I mean, if you were really trying to get that bag, I mean, shoot, you would have signed that prenup. But hey, to each his own. To each his own. And then it's just very much a lot. But like I said, I haven't finished it enough to know what I would finally hit the score on. So that's why I'm saying right now I'm hitting it at 5, but it definitely could be more. So far, one thing I'll say, because I know Fred Throw is in here, right? If he was the director or the producer, he would change the name to from Stepdaughter to something else. Yeah, I would too. And it'll go just like this: The Secret Within. That would be the new freaking movie of this. That would be the new title of this movie, The Secret Within, because that was too much underlining secrets being told here that no one didn't know. 1, you had a name change. 2, all this other stuff. 3, you were the one that actually killed the mother. Okay, too much twists and turns here. Too much twists and turns. But yeah, look. Pretty interesting. This is actually a novel, funny enough, right? This is a novel coming, like this is all taken from a novel. So this is pretty interesting overall. But pretty nice. Pretty nice as far as what I see. Would I recommend this movie to anyone right now? Sure. Especially since it's a part 2. If we got a part 2, it can't be all bad. It can't be all bad. Literally, it can't be all bad. Because if you got a part 2 and you got a rating of what everyone else as an overall would say is a 5.3 out of 10, this can't be bad, especially when you get in part 2.
So yeah, I do want to say this, Wally. The reason why there is a part 2, and the simple fact I've already seen it, so go ahead and watch it if you have the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on a list. We're gonna review it.
They don't get caught in the first movie. The guy, you don't find his body, even though he got shot. And then the daughter is in the hospital, so she's not like in jail. You don't ever see a court or any of that. Supposedly, she got hit, and then next thing you know, all you see at the end is them trying to rush her. She's in the hospital, and they're trying to save her life, and that's pretty much how it cuts.
Well, yeah, but like you said in the as far as for your review, right? Because when you said, okay, she finds out that he was the one that did what he did and set this all up, and it's like now she's on her verge of revenge. It's like now it's like, okay, now you have to have a battle between them. So it's like, of course, there's a part 2 as far as getting the finished part done, like having them battle and duke it out, because now she's on a mission. So of course, yeah, I would expect there would be a part 2. But the fact that I'm saying, like, usually when movies like this be done this way and it's like bad ratings, they wouldn't even do a part 2, even though there is, because this is after a novel. So you want to fish it out. But the fact that it actually got the pass, the thumbs up to say, yeah, we're going for part 2. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No doubt. And we definitely gonna review the part 2. But I like what Wally was saying about the change of the name. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, if I would change the name, I'll be like, don't do it, then the stepdaughter. So it'd be like, don't do it in like big ass letters, and then it'd be like the stepdaughter. So yeah. Man. But all right, man. So you know how we do it. Everybody gonna get a chance to. You're gonna change your rating, keep it the same. So for me, I was at a 6.7. I'm gonna go up to like a 6.8, 6.9. I'm around there. Had to bump it up, man. I think this is, like I said, this is gonna put stuff in perspective for you. You might be want to go down that path. You be like, and this is for men and women, because I think like the lady got gypped. So I like how you pointed that out. She was like, her family got screwed over. So it's like all these dynamics. Watch this movie before you go down that path. But all right, Fred, you gonna keep your rating.
All right, so I'm actually gonna probably go up to a 5.5 just because at the end there is a cliffhanger, and that cliffhanger literally leads right into the second movie. And then the second movie literally picks up where they just left off. And so that was interesting because at the end of the day, you see some of the old cast members and they're actually a little bit older. And so
don't give too much, man. We gonna review it.
At the end of the day, I just thought because they left that cliffhanger. I mean, that is kind of cool. That's what they do in soap operas and stuff like that to just keep your attention. They did that even when it came to all of our action movies that we love, especially with Iron Man and all of them. So, I mean, for that, it did leave you intrigued, and you was like, okay, I want to see more. And so for that, I will go up 5.5 on that.
Did my reference for the documentary in my breakdown help bump it up?
Went backwards and went down to 4 for that reference.
All right, Wally.
So yeah, so for my record, so before I give you my final number, which honestly I think I'm gonna stay at 5 anyways, because until I actually finish it out. But yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm just stay at 5 right now until I finish it out, and then I'll give my my.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I want to. When you finish it, let us know.
What? But one thing I will say is, you said that you gave it a 6.7, and that you jumped it up to like 6.9. So I'm just taking a wild guess, Fred. He didn't mention the part when the woman. Wait, what was the scene? I think it was the scene when the daughter had asked to do something. And then I think no, it wasn't daughter. It was the son. He asked the son because his friend stayed, and she was like, the mother was like, that's okay with her. And then I think they asked the husband, and then he's like, you know, this is your mama's house. I'm pretty sure Jerk didn't remember that part because he would have been like, that dude is a simp.
Oh yeah, definitely. But he was running the long game.
He was playing the long game.
Because at first I was like, damn. I was like.
No, but
like he definitely is.
That just was so cringy. But yeah,
I was like, he's definitely a simp. But he was just playing into the act because he was like, shoot, I got me this rich girl. He was like, her little sons get on my nerves, but I'm gonna act like I like him. But he had his he was looking at the long term strategy. So I that's why I give him props.
No,
he
but
played that role.
I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm saying. Part of the movie was just sort of lackluster in a sense, because like you don't see no presence in like the father to son reaction in this at all. It's like he's just there, they're just there, and it's like, well, yeah, you know, we're just mingling. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Then that oldest son, he was kind of a weirdo. He wanted to definitely smash. Is that a picture? Are you painting? He was just all weird. The little brother was getting it. He was like, shit, she had to get him drunk and give him some weed.
But she was planning to throw him off the roof. So
yeah, he was about to get. He lucky his mom stumbled out because he was about to be a goner.
Yeah.
But now definitely we gonna definitely review. I'm putting the part 2 on the schedule, so we gonna review that one. So Wally, you definitely gotta finish it so I can get your take, and we gonna put the part 2 on the calendar or on the schedule.
Yeah.
But all right, y'all. Tune in. Let us know what y'all think. Peace.
All right.